Welcome back, NAO fans. We're back this week. We're talking draft from this year. We're talking where they should have been, where they went. We got a couple trades to go over. That's Tank Top Mike down there, flashing that bear, and that's Marky Mark, all in the house. How we doing, guys?
Pretty good.
Right.
Pretty good.
All right, Marky Mark,
Good.
let's jump in this with both feet.
All right. Let's talk about our trades first, guys. So, we got two to talk about since we last taped. First one we're going to go with here is the Underdogs and Take Top Mike. So, Take Top Mike receives Kenny Galladay, and the Underdogs receive David Njoku and a 2024 third rounder. We'll let you start us off, Mike, since it's your trade.
It's a very boring trade. We all know it's a very boring trade. The theme of this trade is what if. What if Kenny Galladay comes back, and he's okay. New offensive coordinator, new GM, new head coach. Who knows? What if Njoku, breaks out finally? It's a boring trade, but it could be fun in, a few weeks. I think Evan and I just really wanted to trade with each other. This was a safe one to just get it off the books. Here we go. Let's go into the season.
He was almost in the DT. He's going through withdrawal so bad. So. What do you think, Sean?
I don't think this is safe. I think this is a fun trade. I think when you said play the what if game, I think that's exactly how this trade is. It's fun to be like, hey, what if a new coach comes in, like you said, and wants Kenny Galladay to have a rebirth, or you never know. And the value that you guys put on both the players is dead on. It really shows the level of intellect in this league. You're not going to pull one over on any of the managers in this league. I like it for both of you. I definitely like it for you, Tank Top Mike, because last year you were in the playoffs and you could take a little dart throw with Kenny Galladay, maybe get in a couple weeks this coming year. Or maybe he's a throw-in on a trade that just is missing that one little piece. So I like it for both of you.
Yeah, I think any Galladay owner from last season will tell you they'd be glad just to get rid of him. He was very frustrating. And, even going back to the season before that. So I'm sure there's a lot of frustrated Galladay managers out there just trying to get a little something out of him, get him off the roster. Don't want to see that name anymore. So, Galladay, the way I feel about him is that he kind of, I think he stopped playing in Detroit. I think he maybe could have gotten back, but he didn't want to get back because he wanted to get the deal. And he thought he could just jump back in without getting back into football shape, I think he took too much time off. He's getting older, and he thought maybe he could just kind of phone it in and get his deal, and then go back out there and play at the same level. I think he found out that's not true, especially with him getting a little bit older. So I think if he works hard in the off season, gets back in good condition, he may be able to play a full season without all those nagging injuries. But boy, it's a crapshoot at this point with him, being another year older when we come into next season. So, Njoku, yeah, who knows? He had some good moments. He's never been featured. I would have loved to see him go to another team where he was. So, we'll have to see. The third rounder is probably the prize here. Hey, I got a third rounder and a guy for Galladay.
Well, I think in Cleveland, they like all three of their tight ends and both spread it around, and there's not very many targets to spread around in Cleveland, being a run-first team, run-heavy team. So it'd be a surprise to have one singular tight end really emerge as the main guy.
Yeah,
I mean that's what is a buy low candidate and hope for the upside. So I think on both sides, like Mike and the DBs, it's a hope for what if,
Yeah, Njoku has some serious upside. I think it's kind of funny that Njoku is the best athlete in the trade, actually. Like, they dude is a freak.
True.
Yeah, definitely.
So his, in a positions like tight end that's starved of, top guys you're throwing on, who knows? So it could work out. Actually, it was Brevin Jordan that made me kind of okay with the trade. Like he did pretty well down there in my taxi. So Njoku, sure. I'll take the swing on Galladay. I never have to start him if I don't want to. So
That's
if
right.
it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Do we know David Njoku's contract status off the top of our heads? I don't. I'm not sure if he can go to another team or not.
Actually, I'm not sure. I know he wanted to come back in Cleveland.
Right,
He
right.
keeps saying that, and then actually the day that we did the trade, it was the day that they announced that Joe Judge was finally out in New York, and then earlier that day, Njoku said that he wanted to stay in Cleveland, and I was like, let's swap him.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, I know they paid a lot of money to Hooper. If there's any way they can get out of Hooper's contract, then maybe it's just Njoku and Bryant, and maybe he gets a little bit more usage. So we talked a lot longer on that one than I thought we would, but it is fun to see these guys that were darlings at one time, and now they're sort of like, well, they're going to do anything or not. So be interesting to see. All right, we'll move on to our second trade, which is also the Underdogs trading with Goofy Jace. So the Underdogs receive Calvin Ridley, a 2023 fourth rounder, which is Sean's pick, a 2024 fourth rounder, which is Goofy's pick, and a 2024 fifth rounder, which is Goofy's pick. Goofy receives a 2024 first rounder, which is Ian's pick, a 2023 third, which was Goofy's pick coming back to him, and another 2023 third, which was FNG's. I'll let you start us off on this one, Sean.
Again, I think this is a good trade for both of them. I think the Underdogs have a deep squad. I've gone on the record to say that I like their team. They do a great job of their team management, and to really get Ridley with a 24 first, kicking it out a couple years, you can still, if you haven't seen yet, the Underdogs have a bunch of picks in 24, so they can take the hit. They really weren't going for those fourth round picks and the fifth round pick. They want Calvin Ridley to come back and blow up, and if it doesn't, they have time to make up that first round pick in 2 years. I love the trade for Goofy too. I mean, he's got some good capital moving forward. He's doing a pretty good job of managing his squad too. Going forward, he's gonna be tough to beat too.
I think this one, the theme of this one is really just what they've been doing all off season. Really, yeah. Goofy's sort of collecting some picks, and the Underdogs are sort of they're taking a shot. Ridley could turn out to be fantastic. He could bust, but they have the roster to be able to kind of absorb that if he doesn't really turn out as great, or I guess even come back. He might still, I guess, technically might not come back, but and Goofy gets some more picks. Now he's actually out a few years, so he's got a lot of good picks, and I think he with the 1 and the 2 right now anyway. He could snag a wide receiver that could hop in and actually be performing before that 2024 first, and then bam,
Right.
we got another one. So, yeah, I like it for both of them.
I kind of wonder if Ridley's just angling for a trade. Maybe his mental health will improve greatly if he goes to another team. And I'm not trying to make light of it, but maybe that change of scenery would help him out, give him a fresh start somewhere else. Maybe somewhere that he believes in a little bit more than the Falcons and what he's seen over the years there. So it's worth a shot. I tried to make a run at Ridley earlier in the season, kind of a throw in with something else I was trying to do, and he didn't pull the trigger then. But I think he was looking to do it. So I'm glad he got his draft capital. And you're right, Sean. He's got depending on what he does with those picks, he's going to be something to deal with possibly here. He's got a lot of picks to turn over the age of his roster, which is, I think, something that was important for him to do.
Yeah, I was gonna just mention real quick that he's kind of showing us what the right way is to do a rebuild without rebuilding per se. Usually, before this point, it's been all or nothing. You're either in rebuild or you're competing. He's doing a pretty nice job doing both. Still staying competitive and adding some youth to his lineup.
Yeah, a lot of guys they'll trade away to win championships, and nothing wrong with that at all. But I like his approach where he took a step back and he wants to take another jump forward. So I think you're right. He's going about it the right way here. All right, we will move on to the draft. So we did this last year too, and basically we're just gonna run through the rookie draft and we're gonna see how those picks turned out, what we think moving forward. And it's not going to be an exhaustive talking about 50 guys. We'll touch on the first 20 quick hitters in the first round because everybody knows who did what in the first round. Second round, maybe a little more talk, and then just a few select guys from the later rounds. So hopefully we can get through this in our normal time of just under an hour. So I will start us off by going to the draft board. So pick 101 was Najee Harris. My thoughts are good pick. Definitely was a hit. Got to use him this year a lot. Looks good moving forward. I'm a little concerned about the usage. We've seen guys like that kind of get burnt out early. So it was a good pick. But what do we think about that one moving forward, guys?
Yeah, I was serious. That 370 curse. I don't know if you know it. It's
Explain that,
generally
Mike. Go into that in detail.
it's
I don't know what that is.
370. Well, for this year it was touches, running back touches. Basically the only running back who's had 370 touches, and then not basically fallen off a little bit of a cliff the next year was Eric Dickerson. He was pretty good. Everybody
Yeah,
else,
he was all right.
everybody else, if you hit 370, you fall off a little bit the year after, and the only guys that did it this year were Harris and JT. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's sort of a joke, one of those like mostly like statistical anomaly kind of deals, whatever. But
Right.
I mean there's enough data to prove that like if that many touches, you do regress slightly. So
Yeah, I think he's gonna regress a little bit, but he has the space to do it and still keep as an RB1 with really, really good upside. I mean, they're gonna go out and get a new quarterback. Obviously, Big Ben is hanging up the cleats and going out to pasture. So you got to think that whoever they bring in is going to have a fresher arm, be able to throw it a little bit better, and it's going to open up the playbook, which might help Harris significantly with people not loading the box and trying to kill him because Big Ben can't throw it more than 5 yards.
I do hope they take him out to pasture and shoot him. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be significant.
Hit him
I think
with
that
old,
would.
hit him with some old Yeller back there.
Yep. Play Gone with the Wind music in the background and put it to the back of his head.
Make him eat his own beef jerky first. That was terrible.
Moving on. Moving on. We'll go to the second pick of the rookie draft, which was Chase. Jamar Chase, of course. That was my pick.
Who?
Not much to say about it. It was a hit. Upside looks good. You guys got any? Yeah, I don't want to sit here and brag on my pick, so I'll let you.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not biased at all about this
No,
pick at all.
I'm happy. I'm happy with it, but I'll let you guys talk about it.
I think if 1 and 2 were switched, it would still be good. I think Chase had a 101 kind of value to him, but Harris has a 101 value to him. So them going 1 and 2 makes sense. And looking back on it, it's all pretty much good to go because Chase blew up, Harris blew up. Chase is gonna do even better in year 2. Harris is gonna be less used, but I think his yards per carry or target is gonna go up, so that's gonna be better for him. Yeah.
Mike, do you think you keep it up there?
Yeah, I think this is a good one. I think Chase has I think if you look at next year or want to look at next year, I think Chase has the higher chance to maybe reproduce what he did. Obviously, he had some stellar numbers. I'm not saying going to nail it, but he's going to be an elite guy for a while. That Bengals offense is pretty stable. They've got they don't have much that's going to be changing.
Right.
So, Burrow's looking pretty good. There's some concerns after his injury, all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I think Chase has a good shot at doing it again for a long time.
I look at Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase kind of like Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. They just have this uncanny connection where they just trust each other immensely. So if Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow can capitalize on that connection moving into their careers, they're both going to really prosper with each other being on the same team.
Keeps me hopeful for a good sophomore year is that I think a lot of people were saying that Justin Jefferson would take a step back, that he couldn't repeat those numbers, but he did it, and I'm hoping that Chase kind of keeps that LSU thing going and does the same thing. So
Yeah.
if he can stay healthy, I think he could do it. So I do hope they still need help on that line, so I hope they'll address that some more. All right, the pick number 3, Javonte Williams. Again, my pick at number 3 there. I think he showed that he was worth that high pick. I got some crap from those guys that did our guest, the guest podcast that went over our league. They gave me some crap, but I think even if Etienne was in there, I think they would have to say, hey, you know what, maybe that wasn't such a bad pick. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I like Williams. I think he has some incredible potential on that offense, even if they bring in a new quarterback. I think my only knock on Williams really is just the future of Melvin Gordon and what's he going to do. You're a much more realistic Williams manager than some others that I've talked to who are basically like, if Williams gets rid of Melvin Gordon, like the dude is just a champion, for the next decade and stuff. But I think he's good. Yeah, it's just what's going to happen with Melvin Gordon. Is he coming back? Is he leaving? We'll see about that though. But great third pick. Great 2 and 3 for you this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Great 2 and 3 for you. I think Williams actually benefits from a little bit of a timeshare. I mean, him being young and Gordon can suck up some of those hits, and kind of lengthen Williams' career. And when Gordon actually does leave, I think Denver will bring in somebody to kind of take the hits off him, because Williams does have immense talent, and I think if he was given the opportunity, he could blow up and be crazy good. But for how long? You know what I mean? Yeah, I like Williams at 3, and I like Chase at 2 for you there, Marky Mark.
Well, moving on to pick number 4 in last year's draft, we had Travis Etienne. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him play on the injured reserve with the Liz Frank injury. What do you think about him moving forward?
I think it's too early to tell. There's no way of knowing how he's going to be. New head coach, new probably everything. So we'll just have to wait it out. I liked it at the time for Silly, though.
Yeah, at the time I thought it was a pretty good pick. And then obviously the injury, and then James Robinson looked pretty good again once they figured out that Urban Meyer sucks.
Yes.
But then James Robinson gets hurt, so now it's a whole new weird dynamic with these two pretty good, but now injured running backs. So yeah, if I'm Silly, I don't know what I'm doing with ETN right now. Actually, I don't know if he's a move candidate. You hold on to him. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think he could be wrong with whichever way he goes either.
Right. Yeah, you hate to give up on somebody you picked that high, but maybe you don't. If you can get a good price, if you can get a good haul for him, then maybe it's worth moving him. So, but I don't know if many are coming with a big haul with a guy who hasn't played an NFL snap yet. All right, pick number 5 was Kyle Pitts. So, of course, we know he had a record-setting season with an asterisk. I've got Pitts in another league, and he definitely gave you a lot more than your normal rookie tight end. And I think he's going to be good moving forward. If he can only get better, then who knows what kind of heights he'll reach. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's really it. I mean, he started off, people were worried for like a game or two, I think, and then it was off from there. They say tight ends take like 2-3 years to really develop, and he didn't do any of that. So if he's going to get better, that's a pick.
Yeah, I think he's definitely what everyone hyped up, and his potential is, immense, but I think that is the only pick that I would probably question in the first round this year. I think if the underdogs had another go at it, they would probably go at one of those wide receivers that got drafted after him. And then I think Pitt's value for this year, knowing what we know, is an early second round and not an early first. But I mean, if he hits the big time next year, he's going to be worth that fifth overall pick.
I was doing a double take because I saw that the underdogs picked him. I was like, wait a minute, Ricky's got him, and I remember I think Ricky got a little bit upset, didn't he? That the pick was traded and they were allowed to pick Pitts there, but he got him in the end anyway, so he got his guy. Yeah, that threw me off. I was like, wait a minute, Ricky's got him now. I forget we traded quite a bit in this league.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right. Moving on to pick 6. We got our boy Sean picking Jalen Waddle, and Jalen Waddle really did a good job this year. He seems to be one of Tua's favorite targets, and now that they fired Flores, which I think is pretty stupid, but I guess it was over supposedly that he wasn't behind Tua, so they'll probably bring in somebody that is behind Tua. And Tua loves him some Jalen Waddle, so this is a good pick that I think is going to keep on giving. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I think in PPR, a guy like Waddle is exactly who you want to be drafted in the first round. He averages 10 plus targets a game, and he has fantastic hands. So
yeah, as a fellow receiver, owner of a receiver in Miami with Jaceki, seeing Flores gone and they're keeping Tua, that's awesome. For any of those guys, I think especially Waddle. Another pretty good pick there.
Yep.
If you want to pick a top end wide receiver, the 6th overall pick in the first round is exactly where you need to be. I'm 2 for 2. Subtle brag.
Yeah. Don't hurt yourself patting yourself on the back there, man. Stretch first. Stretch before you start patting yourself on the back. All right. At pick number 7, we had Ricky picking Michael Carter, and I think it's kind of funny he traded him to you, Sean, and then traded back for him again. So he liked him and traded him and still liked him and got him back. So Carter, to me, I haven't been real high on him, but I have to say that he played well when he had the opportunity this year. He showed a little something. He had the injuries. He's still getting up to speed in pass protection, but he exceeded my expectations this year. What do you guys think about him?
I think him at 7 is kind of a stretch. Maybe later first round, early second round is more where he needs to be going after his first year. But his upside is fantastic. I remember doing the trade with Humpty. I moved Stephon Diggs for 2 first round picks. It ended up being the 6th pick and 10th pick. But I was trying to get 6 and 7 to go Waddle Smith. So we all know how that ended up. But I think Carter's more of a late first round, early second round guy.
Yeah, I remember after the draft we did that whole show, we said a lot of the same stuff about Michael Carter then. I agree with you, Mark. He did do better than I kind of expected him to do during the season. Some of it might have just been the Jets, of course. But yeah, I think he is pretty promising, and I think once we start getting into these later first round, early second round picks, there's a lot of what could have been kind of stuff. But I think really we nailed the first half of the first round. So congrats to all of us, you guys.
I totally agree.
I did absolutely none of it. So congrats to everybody else.
All right, we'll move on to pick 8, which was Silly Dilly picking Devonta Smith, who we all know Sean just said he wanted to get him, and I think you sent a trade offer every week for 3 or 4 months until you got him?
I can neither confirm or deny that I sent him a trade every Sunday at 11:30.
Well, and you got him. He's definitely showed some promise. Philly was kind of a mess this year. When he had the chance, he looked good, and he's another guy that I was just worried about his size, but he's so elusive, man, that I think he can. I think he can go without taking some of these big hits just with his elusiveness. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, they drafted Rhaegar last year. A guy turned out to be a little bit of a bust. So it was not terribly surprising they swung for another one, but they nailed it with Smith here. He definitely looks like he's the best that they've had for a while, actually there in Philly. So and I don't know if you saw they're basically bringing back Jalen Hurts. They kind of announced that he's the starter in 2022 again. So there's a little bit of the rushing upside that kind of caps wide receivers, but it seems like Smith's been a little bit of immune to that. So, a pretty good solid 1-2, Waddle and Smith there. I know you didn't draft him, but still.
I think Smith is going to be more of a home run guy. He's not going to be a target guy. He's going to be 3-4 targets for 90 yards and maybe a touchdown type dude, but just because of how the offense is set up. It's a run-first team, and that's where they see a lot of their benefits from running first, so the targets are going to be a lot less. But I think he's going to have a good next year.
They tried to be more of a passing team, and it was a disaster. So they started running the ball and winning games. And I don't know. Well, can Hurts take a step forward in the passing game? That's going to be the big question.
Mm-hmm.
If so, then he could have some chemistry with him, and that's their guy. You mentioned Rager. He was drafted by the old regime, and not surprised to see him not be a focal point. I think this is their guy. Devonta Smith might be more of a focal point if Hurts can take a step forward passing, but it just wasn't good this year in the passing game for him. So we'll have to see what kind of development he gets in his next season here. All right, we will move on to pick number 9, which was Trevor Lawrence. Goofy Jace picked Trevor Lawrence. Oof, not looking like a great pick, but I don't know. It was such a mess there. I'm kind of giving him a, what do they call it, a mulligan in golf? I'm giving him a mulligan. What do you guys think about Trevor Lawrence? See any promise there moving forward?
Yeah, I think he has a lot of promise moving forward. It's a long career at quarterback, and I think anybody with a pulse can tell that Jacksonville is a giant dumpster fire. I'm not sure if they even had a plan going in on Sundays, so it's kind of hard to be a quarterback when your head coach doesn't even know what the hell he wants to be doing. So I think they get a good head coach, and maybe Trey Lance goes forward.
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, sorry.
You did that last year too. You
Yeah.
mixed up those two. No problem. We love you, man. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, I don't know. I'm not so sold on old T-Law here after that. I mean, I get the whole thing, Urban Meyer was punching, kicking people, whatever. And the whole organization was a complete disaster, but I think I have a very strong feeling that when you draft these guys in the first overall pick, second overall pick as quarterbacks, you don't start them right away. I think, pardon my French, it's fucking stupid to me to draft these guys that high and then throw them out there. And now Lawrence is the poster child for that. It was a disastrous season, for sure. Maybe he comes back. Maybe he's RG3, but without the injury, he's just ruined after a year. Who knows now? But I have strong feelings about that kind of stuff. I mean, you look at some of the best quarterbacks playing right now. They were behind a guy. Brady behind Bledsoe, Mahomes behind Alex Smith, Rodgers behind Favre. I mean, think about, Andrew Luck was the last one that came in straight from the getting drafted and crushed it. Now they've ruined Trevor Lawrence. I also don't think that Trevor Lawrence was anything like Peyton Manning. You shouldn't have told him he was like Peyton Manning. I think that's stupid too. I got more feelings. Let's move on.
Yeah, he's gonna
really feel Mike.
Yeah, right. Now the mental aspect is a big one too, Mike. He's gonna have to try to shrug that off and get back out there and try to get back up to what he was in college, but it's gonna be tough. So he's gonna need some good coaching. He played better down the stretch, but he wasn't throwing touchdown passes. I'm thinking that it's kind of important at the QB position. So
A little bit.
yeah. So we'll have to see. Like I said, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm counting it as a redshirt season with him, and I'd like to see what he does next year. All right. At pick number 10, our buddy Sean picked Terrace Marshall. So Marshall, I liked him a lot too. I think he was picked in a good spot, but then he gets on the team that doesn't seem to want to use him much, and then he got injured, so he's another one where kind of the jury's still out. Shawnee was your pick. Do you wanna tell us what you think? I know you
All right,
traded away.
I'm gonna be brutally honest,
Okay.
because that's how we do this on the NAO show. We don't pull any punches, but this was a dumb fucking pick at 10. There is probably 6 or 7 other people I would have drafted after him, over him in the 10th pick. People like Bateman. I should have pulled the trigger on Bateman. I was scared of him being in Baltimore. Uh, Elijah Moore. Should have pulled the trigger on him, but again, the Jets. Enough said. And then I'm on St. Brown. He was coming on late in the year too, but Detroit, uh, it was a dumb pick. If I had that pick again, I would definitely not pick him.
I think the only one that I would say is the obvious, not obvious, but the only one I would say for sure is Bateman. I think the other guys are, well, you were higher on Elijah Moore than I was necessarily at that point, but I was a little surprised that you made that trade, and then stuck with Bateman or Marshall there. But I think like Mark said, there's some injuries. That team sort of loses Christian McCaffrey every year and just panics. So
That's a fair point.
we'll see what happens next year. They hopefully they bring in a quarterback because that could help everybody.
That's a true fact.
Yeah, I told you I was surprised that you didn't go with Elijah Moore because you talked about him incessantly. But I did defend you and say, that's the highest I would have gotten. Marshall would have been right there at the end of the first round. I kind of had him end of the first, beginning of the second. But I liked Bateman better. Moore and him I kind of had together, but now looking back at it, Moore looks like a better pick there. But woulda, shoulda, coulda. It's just it didn't work out for him this season, and it wasn't all on him. I think he's got some talent, and I think we might see better things out of him. All right, let's go on to the second round. We've got Trey Sermon at pick 201 by the Pooh Crew. The Pooh Crew is the one that picked Trey Sermon. Uh, didn't really work out. I thought it was a good pick at the time, but then Shanahan does his kind of dick move thing and starts talking bad about him in the press and puts him inactive on games. So I don't know, man. I thought that was a good pick at the time, but man, not looking good now.
Yeah, good pick at the time, but there's somebody in the third round in this draft that definitely overtook the backfield, which was very shocking. I thought that was a great pick for the Pooh Crew, it being his first pick in the second round, but it doesn't look that great now.
And Sermon was picked in the second round. He moved up to get him, right?
I can't remember if he moved
Yeah,
up or
I
not.
think that was it. And we were like, okay, Shanahan's in love. He's going to be good. Shanahan fell out of love. He's fickle, man. Shanahan's fickle.
Mhm. Yeah, that whole thing was a little weird. Like with Sermon, and then what happened with like Ayuk and stuff like that. It's like, man,
Yeah.
it's almost like there's a few guys on San Francisco that are fine to have, and then other than that, it's like scary because if they make Shanahan a little mad, then they don't play for weeks.
He
Yeah.
holds a grudge real bad.
Yeah.
Another second rounder they moved up for, Dante Pettis, and he was exiled to the Giants. And
Mhm.
maybe he'll stick with them, but he got hurt this year. But yeah, that was another one that you're like, oh wow, second rounder. But nope, wasn't to be. He questioned his manhood in the in press conferences, and I'm like, that's I'm Shanahan is just falling out of favor with me for that kind of crap. So you had to be careful. You had to be careful with Shanahan. All right, let's move on to pick number 2 in round 2, Rashad Bateman. We just talked about him a little bit. He was injured a little bit this year, but when he was on the field, the target share was there. You could see the potential there. I think that's a good pick. I think he's going to be good moving forward. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like that pick there. I'd gone after that pick when he was still there, actually, trying to get Bateman specifically. unfortunately was my pick originally if I had just stayed with it. But whatever.
Yeah, I think Bateman's had a pretty good first year, and he's gonna have a sophomore explosion in that offense. I think he showed that he can be depended on.
It's hard to say because the passing is still. I think Lamar took a step forward this year, but then he kind of took a step back, and I don't know what's going on there. I was a little higher on Bateman, but I'm wondering about Lamar now. But if he gets that chemistry going and is their true number one receiver, he still might be able to get enough volume to put up some good numbers. All right, we're going to move on to pick number 3 in round 2, which is Elijah Moore, picked by FNG and traded to Mick Jammer. I'm happy with him. He put up a few good days for me before he went on the COVID list and kind of never came back off again. So hopefully he's back next season strong. I'm not sure what's going on with him, but what do you guys think?
I think if he can build a rapport with Zach, I think he has a really good shot of being a fantastic flex play. I think his ceiling's probably a wide receiver too, which is fantastic in fantasy. But yeah, I think he has a good shot of becoming something really good.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Jets have kind of played a little bit better than we sort of expected them to. They've been really bad for a really long time, though. To be fair to all of us, but yeah, Moore did flash here and there, and that COVID thing did seem like it kind of knocked him down a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully a good off season. Hopefully it's more normal of an off season for some of these sophomore guys going in. So I think that'll do him and actually Zach Wilson a lot of good. Zach Wilson falls under my Trevor Lawrence rant as well.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't going to talk about him tonight. Spoiler alert. But yeah, Elijah Moore definitely talented. Yeah, he was catching balls from a lot of different guys. So when Sean, when you mentioned if you can get a report with Zach Wilson, very true that all of his production was not from the same quarterback. So hopefully those guys are going to work hard in the off season together. And he's their guy. He is. They picked him high this year, and they definitely got plans for him, I'm sure. All right, we'll move on to pick number 4 in the second round. Ricky picked Rondale Moore, and he traded him to me, and I traded him to the underdogs. Rondale was a little disappointing. I thought maybe he was going to do more with the touches he got. Another elusive guy, but maybe the time out of football maybe he just wasn't quite ready. He's got a lot of speed, but it doesn't seem like he was ready for NFL game speed yet. What do you guys think?
I think it's apparent now that Arizona cannot develop young wide receivers, and they don't give him the chance. Even when D-Hop went down, you think, all right, it's more time, or Christian Kirk is going to actually be utilized properly, but Arizona just does not know how to do air raid from a head coach that is supposed to be good at air raid.
Yeah, he was another guy that flashed here and there, and enough that when I remember we were looking at the trade when you had sent him, and I thought man, his stats are not nearly what I thought they were. For some reason in my head, I was like, man, this guy is crushing, he's doing great, and then I was like, oh wait a minute, maybe that's not so great. But yeah, that one's kind of a question mark. I think he could step up. I actually think the Cardinals might look quite a bit different offensively going into next year. They got a lot of question marks and a lot of guys on free agency, so it could have to be him next year for no other reason that he's the only one left.
I think he can step up. I think a year under his belt's going to help, and I think the biggest problem was that they would put him on the field when they were going to call a play for him. He might play, 20%, 25% of the snaps, and every time he'd come on the field, they try to run a play to him. So I think it got pretty easy to predict because his biggest games, I think, came early in the season, and I think they started watching films like, okay, every time this guy's on the field, it's like a 90% chance they're going to him in one way or another. So yeah, you got to have him on the field all the time, so you never know when they're going to him. So yeah, I think they kind of wasted a good resource there, but not my problem anymore. I think there's promise for him, but we'll have to see what happens. All right, we'll move on to pick 5 in round number 2, which is Amon-Ra St. Brown, who went to the Pooh Crew. And guys, he's going to be upset if we don't give him a lot of props for hitting on this guy. So, you want to give him some props? Anybody want to? Anybody want
Yeah, I think he's going to be a fantastic wide receiver too on that team behind Cephas.
to? Behind Cephas, okay. What do you think, Mike?
I mean, to the bigger picture of that point, like there was a lot of injuries on the
Yeah.
lines going into the end of the season, and who else was there at that point? And I'm not saying he's not talented. You have to be somewhat talented to put up points like that and do well.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when everybody comes back?
Yeah, yeah. He was kind of the last man standing. That's true. He did a good job. He put up some good numbers. So we'll have to see how much of it was him and how much of it was being the last man standing. I liked him. I don't want to give him too much credit either. If I'd have been picking somewhere in that area, I would have been targeting him too, I think. Let me just look at the board again here real quick. Yeah, I mean, I certainly like him over the guys that went after him, So I don't think it was to me it was a pretty intuitive pick as far as where I had him ranked. But yeah, he got him. Good on him. We'll see what he does.
This is an interesting just player since he's the perfect sell high. Like that's the definition of a sell high guy right here. Is Ian savvy enough to do it, or have we all just not realized it, so nobody's going to trade for him?
Yeah. Yeah, still tied to Goff. So I think Goff is he's one of those game manager guys. Yeah. So we'll just have I don't know. There's a lot of questions in Detroit still. I think they played better than a lot of people thought. They're playing hard for Dan Campbell, so if they can add some pieces there, maybe they play a little bit better, and then we'll have to see. All right. Pick number 6 in the second round, Kenneth Gainwell, who went to the Underdogs. So, Kenneth Gainwell, when they were early in the season, we talked about how they were trying to pass more. Gainwell had some really good games, and I think a lot of people fell in love with him then. But man, when they started running the ball, Gainwell disappeared. So he seems to me to be kind of your third down back, your passing back. I don't know if he's one that you can hang your hat on too much. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. He's a guy that I really want to like. He's a guy that you look at it, you look at the whole thing. I want him on my team, but then you start looking at like the numbers and the usage, and it's like, no thanks, man. Like, you can keep him, but suddenly they just went into a committee, and it was like a genuine committee of any night. Boston Scott could have won you some fantasy games if you start him.
If you started him, I think you are dead on, Mike. I think the value of Gainwell is very topsy-turvy. You could argue both ways and be pretty correct. Like, when they were trying to be a run-it-and-gun-it team, he did well, but as soon as Miles Sanders and Boston Scott were there and they turned to a run-heavy team, he pretty much disappeared, and you had no idea which one of those running backs is going to be featured that night. So his value moving him is hard, which makes it even harder as a owner of him. Not me personally, but the Underdogs. Like, when do you start him?
Yeah, he's in a committee that's hard to get a grasp on for sure. All right, moving on to pick 7 in the second round, we have Kadarius Toney, who went to the Pooh Crew. So we got his Florida guy. He had some good moments on a horrible team, and then he got hurt and kept trying to come back and got hurt again. So I don't know. To me, the story for him is a lot of upside, but then is he durable enough to do it for a full season?
Yeah, I think there was a couple games this year where they featured him heavily, and he was able to perform and able to put up some good points for Pooh Crew. But we don't know how the new head coach is going to be or the new GM is going to want to do, because like you always say, Marky Mark, he's not their guy. So we'll see moving forward. Great upside, though. Great upside kind of guy, though.
Yeah, that's the story with Tony. If he comes back, what's really going to happen, and how did they use him, really? Giants have always been a super old school football team. They don't do much with this gadgety bullshit, like some of these other teams do. They are a football team, and can Tony just kind of be a wide receiver? Who know? Maybe they don't stick with that anymore. There's been reports that they're not gonna, they're gonna do this whole coach GM search a little bit different. So we'll see. But who they bring in could affect Tony's value pretty greatly.
That's a good point. Tony is a gadgety bullshit kind of guy. So that's what you want to see. Call the gadgety bullshit. Get him out there in space. All right, let's move on to the 8th pick, which was Trey Lance, again to the Pooh Crew, quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, who we didn't see a lot of this year. They moved up to get him and then sent him on the bench. But Mike, you made a good point earlier. These guys that are better are the ones that sat on the, stood on the sidelines with the clipboard and learned with the mental reps. So I think there's a lot of upside for Trey Lance. I think he did okay in limited action. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's, the whole. Well, actually, we could see him this week. Apparently, like Jimmy G might not actually play, so we'll see what Lance is going to do. Going into next year, there's a lot of talk about what Jimmy's going to do. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? I'm not totally sure about the entire contract situation, but he's pretty expensive, so there's a chance that he's there still. And then there you go. There's Lance learned behind Jimmy, who learned behind Tom Brady, so not a bad guy to sit behind.
Yeah, I think Mike was very astute in his early point of view on T-Law, but Trey Lance is going to be one of those guys I think that is going to really benefit from being a year 2 starter, and I think it's just going to add more fuel to the fire that these guys getting drafted need to be sat behind a good veteran like Jimmy G.
All right, we'll move on to pick number 9 in the 2nd round, which was Justin Fields going to Goofy Jace. Goofy doubling up at quarterback in the 1st and 2nd round, and we gave him a lot of crap about it. He ended up trading Fields to you, Sean. Fields looked pretty good in some limited action. I think he's got a lot of promise. Tell us about your boy there, Sean.
Yeah, I wanted to get in early on Fields. I knew he was going to be playing right off the get-go, and with a run-first kind of quarterback, I wanted to see how it was going to happen and then go get him. Obviously, I don't have any need for him right away because I have Joe Burrow, but I think he's going to have a fantastic second year. Maybe they'll go get a head coach that actually likes Justin Fields and will game plan for him. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's a big thing with him. We'll see what happens. I think it's who they bring in is going to be huge for him too. You talk about the Giants being an old school football team, like so are the Bears. So who they bring in is going to affect his value. And talk about like your guy. If this new coaching staff comes in, doesn't really like Fields and what he does, we could see a pretty quick change. I don't think it happens because he flashed pretty well. But his value and how he does it could be pretty dependent on who comes in.
I honestly think the first question in all those interviews is going to be, how are you going to make Justin Fields a perennial all-star quarterback?
I think they put in Big Dick Nick and just let him sling it around. That's my idea.
Yeah, we'll have to see. He could get Josh Rosen. We thought, oh, there's no way they get rid of Josh Rosen when they picked him in the 1st round, but they certainly did. So, we see something like that go on. But yeah, I think a lot of people I think we're excited as football fans that Nagy is finally gone, and
he's going to end up in Jacksonville and just ruin that organization a little more.
They could bring in Culley from Houston, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, there's an improvement, So, not that Culley was bad. Culley actually did pretty well. I thought it kind of sucked that
he did well with a crappy team.
Yeah, and they got rid of him. But but the point there was that it could be not the most romantic name coming in there, but it's better than Nagy. So I think we're going to be happy to see somebody come in there and see what they can do with that team.
As a Justin Fields owner, I would love to see Flores go to Chicago.
Oh yeah. Well, I think wherever he goes, he's going to be good, and they're going to be sorry. So I think he's a great coach. All right, we'll move on to the last pick in the second round, which was Pat Fryermuth going to Goofy Jace. I liked the pick when it happened. I think I talked about going into the draft that if it wasn't for Pitts, we'd be a lot higher on Fryermuth. We'd be talking about him a lot more. He kind of under the radar came in there and, gained some rapport with Ben and did a really good job. I think he's going to be good moving forward.
Oh
I
yeah,
like him.
yeah, I definitely agree. I think he fits into Pittsburgh. He fits into what they want to do and how they play football. I think it's a great pick. Great pick by Goofy there. Great pick by the Steelers. He turned out well, especially in
Yeah.
the tight end position.
Yeah, he immediately saw the field and he was getting good targets, like on third down, need to make a catch kind of target. So I think it was a fantastic pick too, for both the Steelers and Goofy Jace.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move into the third round. So we're just going to hit the highlights here. If we don't mention the names, they didn't do much. But we have a few hits in this round. We're going to start with Mac Jones, drafted by Ricky at pick 303. And Ricky traded him to me. I'm glad to have another good young quarterback on the roster. He had a decent season. He was terrible in the playoffs. I feel like he'll come back strong. He's the kind of guy that's gonna, he'll learn from it. He'll work hard, and he's got to. He's not the best athlete, so he's got to work harder than the next guy. But I think we saw some good things, and I think he can make a step forward.
Yeah, I think so too. This is kind of the outlier to our conversation about quarterbacks playing in the first year. The thing about Mac Jones that T-Law didn't have is Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick protected Mac Jones every week and put him in positions to succeed. Obviously, Trey Lance did not get that at all. But Mac Jones has some really nice upside going into year two.
Yeah, the other thing that Mac Jones had that Tom Brady also had is a top 5 defense, which we've seen top 5 defenses carry Brady to the Super Bowl, so they can apparently carry Mac Jones to the playoffs. And Tom Brady, he's a system quarterback. Apparently, he's just a system quarterback.
Great point.
Yeah, I mean he certainly didn't put up any kind of gaudy numbers or anything, but maybe he can moving forward. Certainly. Yeah, he fit into the system well, and the defense helped. He didn't have to be out there all the time. They could run the ball and play defense, and they didn't have to ask him to do too much. So we'll see there. I'm having deja vu. Seems like I heard something about this number one defense before. I don't know. We'll move on. Moving on. So the next guy is another Patriot. We had at pick 304, Ramondre Stevenson, picked by FNG. So he certainly showed some good potential there. He fumbled, I think, his first carry and stayed in trouble for a while. But then as he kind of earned the trust again, he got on the field. He was good running the ball. He was good catching the ball. He seemed more explosive than Damian Harris at times. So RB2. And I don't know. I like Ramondre. I think he's going to be the guy moving forward there in New England.
I would love to see him be the guy moving forward because to hell with Harris. I think if we were to do this draft again, he might end up in the middle to late second round instead of being in the middle of the third round.
He definitely made your bet interesting. The old Damian Harris RB2 bet interesting. I think
Nervous. Made me nervous at times.
And there it is, though. That's the old Bill Belichick running back by committee. Who knows who it's going to be?
Right. Yeah, he certainly was good though. I had him in that general area, Sean. I was if the guy I wanted there wasn't there when I traded up or traded into the round, then I might have gone with Ramondre. Although, yeah, I certainly didn't have him up amongst the highest. I wasn't convinced that he was going to be good in this league, but he showed some stuff. Good line there, but he showed some stuff. All right, we'll go on to the guy that I did pick in the third round at 305. We had Elijah Mitchell.
This round is just a subtle flex of Marky Mark and his ability to pick guys. So if you're saying, "Oh, another Marky Mark guy," yeah, we all know. They're with you.
Well, one guy was my ability to trade for a guy, but now Yeah, he certainly. I didn't expect that much out of him. I thought he had that upside. I didn't think he'd get the opportunity with Sermon being a second round pick, but it worked out well. Talk about it, guys.
There was 3 running backs in the 3rd round that could easily have been seen if we were to do this draft again in the 2nd round. Stevenson, Mitchell, and Hubbard all did pretty well. Hubbard in his fill-in role when CMC went down for his annual injury, but I could see Mitchell going first pick in the 2nd round where Trey Sermon went. So I think you did fantastic.
Yeah, this is one with hindsight, playing into it. Mitchell probably benefits the most from where he was drafted to where he would end up being drafted. Turned out to be a nice little 3rd round surprise.
Yeah, Abon was interested in too, which kind of he when he told me that I sniped him from him, that kind of told me, okay, this guy's paying attention every day to what's going on in San Francisco. So it helped me be a little more confident in that pick too, because he's a little bit smaller and comes from a smaller school. So it was a dart throw, but I was going for pure upside, and it worked out pretty well. I wasn't going to mention Hubbard, but since you did, Sean, we can talk about him for a moment. My only knock on him was that I didn't feel like he showed enough to be a running back one. He got the volume, but if you look at the bigger picture, I didn't see what I'd like to see out of a running back one. I will give him a little bit of a break too, though, because he kind of had a redshirt season, season out of football, I should say, and had to get in there and get up to NFL football speed. So he could make a jump. So what do you think? You brought him up.
I think he is a pretty good handcuff. He's not the best handcuff, but if you have CMC, you want Hubbard because, like I said before, CMC has an annual 5-game injury at least. So
Yeah, I'm not so big on the whole like you have to or you never handcuff, your top guys, but I think Hubbard played well enough and like I said, CMC is probably going to get hurt. He would be a handcuff I'd probably want, probably relatively cheap to acquire.
Yeah.
Just nice to keep him safe because you're going to use him for sure. Kind of like having somebody behind Dalvin Cook, same kind of concept, but obviously not as good as Mattinson. But yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't put him at the Tony Pollard or Kareem Hunt kind of handcuff, but he's definitely like a Madison handcuff, like you said.
Yeah, I guess the positive spin on it is that he did outdo the rest of the guys that were there, and they even cut one of the guys after he started coming in and getting more touches. So he at least kind of rose above the other veterans that were there. So that was a good thing for him. So maybe he'll make that jump. We'll see. All right, last one I want to talk about in the 3rd round was Josh Palmer. Silly Dilly, our buddy Dylan, got him at pick 10 in the 3rd round. I liked Josh Palmer. I was hoping he'd fall a little farther, and I might be able to sneak in and grab him. But Dylan did a good job to get him there. I think Palmer flew under the radar a little bit because he wasn't in a great program. But I like the upside, and I think he showed some good things in LA with the LA Chargers this year.
Yeah, I think the writing is on the wall with their wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, all longer in the tooth. So Guyton and Palmer might have a uptick in usage, playing time. If one of those two guys were to go down, Allen or Williams, Palmer definitely is a solid plug-in.
Yeah, he was a dude I was eyeing because this is about when I started to pay attention to the draft this year for my own pick. But yeah, I was watching him sort of fall, and I thought, a pretty good situation he's walking into. Going to the Chargers. Obviously, Herbert's going to sling that thing around. So, nice pick there. I was eyeballing that. Would have liked it myself, but that's okay.
Yeah, I was looking for him in the 4th round, and I was thinking about trying to get in because I thought it'd be cheaper to get in the 4th round than the 3rd round. But I think he did a good job picking him there. I'll give Dylan some credit for it, and I think he's got a good one. He didn't do a lot this season, but he did well with his opportunities. I think they like him there, and
Definitely.
I think he's gonna be good moving forward. All right, we'll move on to the fourth round. I've got one guy in the fourth round. I mean, I'm looking at a lot of names here that either didn't get any playing time or maybe an injury or two here. The only guy I wanted to highlight was your pick, Sean. Stretch that arm before you pat yourself on the back, like I said. But we got Nico Collins going at pick number 6 in the fourth round. So we know that it was not great in Houston this year, but I think Nico Collins did a good job kind of emerging as maybe the number 2. Brandon Cooks, of course, was the number 1. It wasn't a great situation for anybody there, but I think Nico in his first year showed some good stuff. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I think Nico Collins was one of those guys that benefited from being on a bad team. He probably got early playing time, where if he had gone to another team, you might not have seen that playing time. Uh, I was able to move him. Pretty good value. I think it was a pretty good dart throw.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good value for him. I think playing on a bad team and playing and looking as good as he did at times, it's pretty nice for him. It's one of those where a new coaching staff is coming in, but he's probably not going anywhere. I think he earned his spot. It doesn't matter anymore. So he looks pretty good. I think he could kind of emerge in the next few years as a pretty good kind of like bye week kind of guy. Maybe a little bit more than that. If he at his peak, but yeah, I think it was a good fourth round value.
Yeah, he ended up on my squad. I can't remember the full trade, but I know that I had my eyes on him too, and so I got him on my squad. I'm certainly not going to put him up at wide receiver 1 or 2 conversation yet, but definitely some promise there. We'll have to see what happens with the quarterback situation and everything else going on there, but definitely showed some promise, I think. All right, we will go on to the fifth round. We're going to start with Tank Top Mike's pick at 501. And Mike, you remember I gave you props for it when you made the pick. I thought it was a great pick. I was hoping he was going to fall down further in the round, but he didn't. That's Khalil Herbert picked at 501. Mike, start us off since it's your pick.
Yeah, I was actually pretty happy that he slid down. I didn't have a lot of picks in this draft, and it was a nice little kind of surprise for me to get him there at the beginning of the fifth. Obviously the joke is Herbert in the fifth again. What can I flip him for this time? But no, I like it quite a bit. And unfortunately he benefited from Tariq Cohen sort of getting injured and never really coming back. And Monty went down for a little bit, and Herbert flashed pretty nice. Fended off a lot of trade offers, but I like him. I think he's just going to sit. So it turned out okay.
Yeah, definitely a good freaking pick at 501. If anybody had 501 and Herbert was still on the board, knowing what we know now, that guy is gone. So, good pick yet again, Herbert in the fifth round. Set it and forget it.
I used my knowledge of this draft in my other dynasty draft, and he had not gone at pick 1 or 2, and so I hit up the manager that was picking at pick 3, and long story short, got Herbert. And just like you, Mike, I got a lot of trade offers when he started to hit. Um, yeah, I was I had him down, late fourth, early fifth kind of grade on him or whatever you want to call it. But I certainly didn't. I thought he'd be playing behind some guys, but man, he jumped right in there and did a good job. Of course, Cohen went down, and so he didn't have as far to go as the season went along, and man, he did everything he could with that opportunity he got. So I think he's very capable. We don't know what's going to happen to Chicago, like we were talking earlier. So if they go committee, he may be relevant. He may be more than just a handcuff. So that was a great pick. I love that pick for you there, Mike. All right, let's go on to the last one we're going to talk about, because I'm looking at a lot of names here that didn't really do much, or maybe they're just stashes for right now. But one guy that did do a little something was Jamar Jefferson. He was picked by Dylan at pick 504. Jamar got a couple of opportunities when the other guys were down, and got a couple of double-digit days in there and looked pretty good doing it. So I'm thinking that Jamal Williams only has one more year on his contract. I could see him being the number 2 there in the very near future. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think the number 2 there is a pretty fair assessment, actually. And, it's maybe what Khalil Herbert was, more expected from him kind of thing, kind of earning his way up there, maybe taking a season or two. But, yeah, I think Jefferson made the most of his touches when he got him. And he's another one that, he looked pretty good on a team that, wasn't very good. So, he got his touches, he earned it. And I think you're right. I think, once he's the number 2, I think that's going to be a pretty good spot for him.
Yeah, I think number 2 is exactly where he needs to be. Being that change of pace guy, different size, different speed, that kind of guy.
Yep. Well, that does it for the draft. That's all the only guys I was going to talk about. I think we did a pretty good job there, guys.
Yep, that's the end of our show. If you haven't listened to this draft before the season, go back, listen to that, and find out that we were all right with all of our predictions. And listen to this wonderful, wonderful show to just find out that Marky Mark is flexing all over this freaking draft. And if you remember our ending, Ian, you suck.